In the heart of the northern plains, where grass meets sky and rivers carve their way across the land, a story as old as the earth itself still walks on four legs. The bison. Sacred, enduring, nearly lost, now flourishing.
My name is Ronald Charles Brownotter, born and raised in Bullitt, South Dakota. I'm a member of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. My business is to raise bison and preserve our culture as we move forward.
The bison shaped these plains. They were food, shelter, tools, and ceremony for the Plains Indians who followed their migration.
The buffalo was always important in our culture. Our people were nomadic, so they followed the buffaloes and got all their meat, the protein. They were rich in protein. They saved us many times from starvation. Teepees, utensils, traditional things that they needed for their spirituality.
The herds were so vast that early settlers wrote of the earth trembling beneath their hooves.
Standing in front of our church, the Catholic church, and it was a sunny day, about noontime, and buffalo were running from east to west right between me and the church, and the hooves and the dust and the noises they make, the breathing, and me watching them go by and by and by and by, and they weren't stopping. I didn't understand that dream, but today I understand it.
For Native nations, the buffalo was never just an animal. It was kin.
Tribes really value the bison. They feel that they're a sacred animal, and that really impacted their hunting because they would hunt the bison at particular times of year. They, of course, used it for meat and all of those types of things, but they really, revered the bison.
Today, that bond remains alive through families who care for living herds.
Because that's our heritage, that's our culture. For me, is to bring that all back in my level. I can't do that for every tribe. I can do it right here because this is our home.
By the late 1800s, government policies, the railroad, and industrial hunting decimated the herds.
Buffalo almost went to extinction. Colonization, westward expansion, immigrants, and chasing, scaring the buffalo away, just from random killing of them, letting their meat rot, spoil, take hides, take tongues.
They were, of course, overhunted and slaughtered when the settlers were here. They were valued for their tongues. They were valued for their coats.
Because bison were basically free at that point in time, the commercialization through the hides and stuff like that, it was an opportunity for people to make money off them.
Some of it was eaten for meat, but a lot of it was left behind to rot.
From tens of millions, the population fell to fewer than 1,000.
And the politicians using that as a weapon to get access to more land, to starve us, to force us into submission. That's what happened.
And so they were slaughtered by the millions, down to about 1% of what the original numbers were.
Estimates of 60, 70, 80 million buffaloes, down to 300-400.
Having the numbers go down so much and almost go extinct really in this area was pretty devastating.
From prior to the Civil War, still lots around. It was only 10, 15 years after that people looked around and saw, oh, we only have a few hundred left. So by, 1880s, they were essentially gone.
For Native nations, this was more than the loss of a resource. It was the tearing away of identity and life itself.
The last buffalo hunt on Standing Rock was in like 1882, roughly, at Hettinger, North Dakota, and there was 60,000 buffaloes there. And our people from Standing Rock, led by our leader, Running Antelope, one of our leaders, was in charge of the people. And they did the last hunt. And in 2 days, they killed 5,000 buffalo. They were pretty wise people in that group at that time, and they probably sensed that this is it. And it was the happiest couple days and the saddest, because they never got to do that again.
I think we really forget about that part of our history is only a couple hundred years old. You know, even the cattle drives from the old Western movies, that was only about 10 years before the Civil War. And that's all it was, and then it was over.
But scattered survivors remained. A few protected in Yellowstone, some raised by ranchers, others safeguarded on tribal lands and conservation programs. Slowly, the bison began to return.
When we picked up this land, this lease, and there was 0 buffalo fence on there. And fast forward to today, it's all fenced out for buffalo.
The land itself remembers the buffalo. The grasses, birds, and even the soil evolved alongside their grazing. Without them, the prairie tells a different story.
Buffaloes are a keystone species. That means that if they're taken out of that ecosystem, it just throws it out of whack.
A keystone species is a species that is critical for an ecosystem to thrive. And if that species is removed for some reason, it can have a cascading negative effect on the whole ecosystem.
They do something that changes the environment to make it more hospitable to perhaps more individuals of another species or more species on whatever that landscape is. When we lose that keystone species, other species in that ecosystem will not be doing as well or be completely eliminated from that ecosystem if they were dependent on something that animal was doing to the landscape. So in determining whether or not it's a keystone species, the big thing is what would be the response if we lost it from the landscape?
The significance of grazing to an environmental community, right? So they'll go out and graze on the prairie. And so what you're doing when an animal grazes, they might have a favorite, say, oh, I like that white flower over there. Well, they're gonna go eat all that white flower over there. That's gonna give the other grasses, those other plant species, more room to actually grow.
There was a relationship with the buffalo with wild animals. They work together. For example, a certain bird would use the fur of the buffalo to line its nest, so to keep warm. Because it's wool, it's not hair from a cow, it's wool. So it's more able to keep the babies warm to survive. So once that's taken out, what does that bird use? You affected the ecosystem where that bison is a keystone species. So that affects the soil, affects the plants, it affects the animals. This is buffalo country, in my opinion, because you got the cool season grasses and you got the warm season grasses. The cool season grasses kick in springtime. You see that green going around, that's cool season. And then it starts getting warmer and warmer, days longer. Then the cool season goes dormant. Then the warm season grasses kick in. Then the cool season kicks back in the fall, they start growing again. So that's how the cycle works. So the animals, know that already, and they'll eat those plants during those certain times to keep them growing.
Oh, there's actually been lots of fun research on this, and they have compared the microbial communities of cattle to buffalo. And what they found when they compared the gut bacteria, the gut microbiome to cattle, the proportions are shifted between the cattle and the buffalo. So really what this translates out to is that the buffalo are much more efficient at breaking down that fiber. They're better at doing that fermentation. The buffalo are actually better at doing the fermentation. They're better at breaking that fiber down. And they're also producing less greenhouse gases in the process. So they're pretty good stewards to the land, if you ask me.
Today, the Dakotas are home to thousands of bison. Some herds live in state and national parks. Others belong to native nations and private ranchers.
I'm a buffalo rancher because I think it was predestined for me to be a buffalo rancher. It came as a dream, and I never had a buffalo dream up to that point. Everything just seemed to be falling in place over time that pushed me in that direction.
Restoring the buffalo means restoring community and culture.
Now you have a revitalization of the buffalo coming back, and very sacred to us, and we're able to share it. So I get to share it to hunters that love the meat, and for health reasons, for their families, and give it to them. I get to give buffalo to the Boys and Girls Club to share it with the kids. I get to take it to food banks. I get to sell it to the federal government to keep doing what I'm doing.
Raising buffalo on the plains is unlike any other kind of ranching. It demands respect, patience, and a willingness to see the animals as more than livestock.
Buffalo are like people. When you're young, you're out there, you can move around fast, do things. But as you get older, you're slower and you use more muscle. Well, same with the buffalo. The same way, as it ages, it loses muscle. As far as calving goes, I leave them alone because they're very protective moms. If I'm driving down the road, I just keep driving because once you stop, they turn around and they're gone. They're booking it away from you because they're little babies right there. I think the land, specifically here, evolved with the buffalo, and by bringing it back, it brought those animals that are associated with that buffalo because it's Keystone species, brought them back. So the native grass is thriving under buffaloes. So just by the buffalo being in there, how they behave, how they carry themselves, and when the buffalo's put back in that ecosystem, how it rolls, how it, they wallow, they pick up seeds in their hide, they go to other places, they wallow, they roll, they rub, they transport seeds, native seeds, other places. I mean, it's amazing to see like the evolution of this native grass for roughly probably 20 plus years now.
The return of the buffalo is not just ecological. It is spiritual, cultural, and generational. In the Dakotas, the story continues, not only of survival, but of renewal.
We're still here. We're raising our families. I've raised 4 kids here, and they've all done pretty good.
For the next generation, the buffalo's return is not only about land or livestock. It is about identity, strength, and continuity. While their numbers grow, we adapt together in a modern but culturally based coexistence.
So with buffalo, I find ways to help, like with cultural things, like sundances, or a person needs for becoming a woman ceremony, they need skulls, or burials, they might need a hide, or things like that. I don't charge. Teaching the young people, the school-age children, to come out on a certain day and observe a bison harvest when the buffalo comes in, and the prayers, and then giving this life up for the people to eat, to survive, and to have experienced people that are knowledgeable about the cuts of the meat, what this was used for, what's the name of this piece of meat, how to cut that. All the different parts of that animal were used for some purpose. And there's Lakota names attached to all of those parts. And so that's how I help my culture, is to allow that to happen. This is why I'm doing it. It's my culture. It's who we were, who we are.
From near extinction to resurgence, the bison's story is the story of the Northern Plains. Resilience, relationship, and rebirth. As long as the buffalo walk the prairie, the spirit of this land and its people endures.